Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on our weekly webinar. My name is 𝐦𝐚𝐭𝐿. Today's session is going to be on how to grow and scale your accounting firm. And we're very, very lucky to have Zubair, who I made him wake up early in the morning because he's in the UK at the moment. What time is it in the UK? 8 o'clock?
It's 8 a.m. Nice and early.
Quite early. But yeah, no, it's still quite early. So, you've had your coffee, so you're like ready to kind of give us your marketing juice. Yep. No, he's got his caffeine in there as well. The series of webinars is very much about kind of helping accounting firm owners, help them become, grow better firms, give them advice on how to, grow revenues, how to improve processes. And we've got quite a few good guests coming up. Last week we had Fahim from Scope. Before that, we've had Yasser from Raise, and today we're very lucky to have Zubair. We will have Q&A at the end, so feel free to put your questions in the comments section. I highly recommend it because you want to pick your brain. Zubair used to work for Xero. I never actually interacted with Zubair when he was in Xero, but I got to know him afterwards. And I have weekly sessions with him, and he gives us so many great insights. So really pick his brain. He's very much one of the experts in helping accounting firms and navigating the marketing and branding for them. Zubair, you want to just give us a quick introduction about yourself? I know I haven't done justice for you, so tell us more about yourself.
All right. Hi, guys. Thank you so much, Ryan, for having me here this morning. It is very bright and early. It does feel like I'm in Dubai. The temperature in London this morning is at 25 degrees at 8 a.m. We're apparently having some kind of heat wave. So everything will grind to a halt here when it reaches like 30 degrees. But yeah, cool. As Rehan said, I've for some reason spent my whole life surrounded by accountants. I've worked at some of the biggest accounting tech platforms in the UK and globally. Some of you who work with the UK might know a business called 𝐻𝐬. I started my career there, but I spent the kind of early days at Xero in the UK. We also launched our business in South Africa, and I worked with a team globally on there. And after I worked with a bunch of fintechs in and around London and kind of Europe, where we kind of launched into the accounting sector. A couple of years ago, I went kind of started my own business. I spent 12 years telling business owners that running a small business is beautiful, everyone should do it. So I thought I'd drink my own Kool-Aid and started my own marketing agency, but focused it into accounting firms and accounting tech platforms. And since then, we've been doing some great work with some great people. And 2 years ago, we also launched an amazing thing in the UAE called Accounting Refigured. Some of you may have heard of it. Some of you may have attended. Thank you so much for everyone who's supported so far. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. But yeah, that's where we are today.
No, thank you for that. I think you and yourself and Ayman have really kind of reinvigorated the accounting industry with Refigured, because we were very underserved from that point of view. So no one cared about accountants in the UAE because we're the boring lot, but we're not really boring. We underpin the economy, right? Without us, taxes wouldn't be paid, companies won't get paid. So we are the real important people in the economy. So
yeah, 100%.
Thank you for giving us a voice. Before we go into Zubair's presentation, I'm just going to quickly just talk about TaxStar. So just very quickly, TaxStar is a tax AI powered tax calculation software. A lot of us have our deadlines 30th of September. So if you're in a situation where you need to have a tool that automates a lot of the calculation, we're here for you. We do the onboarding for you. We set it up, but you would need to do the calculation. And what we're trying to do is make accountants superhuman. We want to allow you to get more out of your day. We want you to take on more clients, or maybe be able to go home at 5 o'clock and play golf, right? So that's our mission at TaxStar. Some of the core features that we have currently is we have an AI-powered corporation tax calculator, and we're trying to replace the use of Excel for you to do your calculation. We have a financial statements production feature as well, and what that does is if you want to produce your financial statements in IFRS for SMEs, we have that template now, which means you don't need Word or Excel to produce it. You can use it straight from Taxstar. We pull in your TB, so you can map your TB to the financial statements, and it's a very easy template. As you know, or you may not know, if your company is revenues more than 50 million, or if you are a qualified free zone company, then you need to produce financial statements. Everyone else just needs to produce, in that category, you need to produce audited financial statements. Everyone else just needs to produce IFRS financial statements. And that's where we come in and we help you ensure that you are compliant from that point of view. And then finally, we have this really cool document expiry reminders. This product, we're giving you money, because effectively what we're doing is all of your clients, you can put all of the documents in there. It will send you reminders, and it also gives you the status of what's going on with those reminders as well. Because as an accounting firm, you would charge your client fees to update the documents in the FTA, and you also save them from the penalty. So we're actually giving that to you as a present. So, you know, you can use that to monetize from as an accounting firm. I will quickly show you one cool feature that we have introduced this week, and we now have an AI chatbot that is that allows you to ask it questions whenever you need to, whenever you have any corporation tax related questions. Now, obviously, it's an AI chatbot. You can't rely on it for accurate information, but the reason why we have it in there is because as and when you're producing your tax return, something might occur to your head, and you may think, "Oh, what is this? What's happening with this type of tax return? I might not know certain things on the tax rules that I just need to quickly find out," and then ask the relevant person questions. What we've done is we've put all of the laws into a chatbot, and we've added this for you. So if I ask, for example, what is small business relief, then what it does is it then goes through the chatbot, and then here you can see that it's already answered the question on what is small business relief. So as and when I'm doing my tax return, if I have quick questions that I'm not sure of, I can just quickly go on this chatbot and I can ask it questions, not for use for your clients. This is mainly for internal purposes, because one of the problems that we're facing as accounting firms is a lot of our staff need to they need to kind of get upskilled in terms of the laws. And so this is a shortcut method that will help you to do that. So very excited to just quickly show that. If you want a demo, feel free to contact us and we can give you a demo on the platform. That's my plug. Now over to the real juice, over to the real content. So Zubair, over to you. Let's talk about how marketing firms can let's talk about how accounting firms can really benefit from your advice to grow their businesses. So over to you, mate.
Cool, thank you. That AI feature is amazing. I know, like, as a small business owner, that we've obviously had tax and legislation in the UK for a long time. But I think, getting those things instantly, instant answers, can be super important for businesses. Cool. Everyone hopefully can see my screen.
Yeah.
Cool. So I'm just going to go through this. There's so much to marketing your firm, creating sales, creating processes, etc. In your accounting firm or even in your business. If you're a CFO or you're working in an industry, it's hard to get it all into like 10-20 minutes in this space. So what I'll try to do is try to fly through it as much as I can, and if you guys want this opportunity to have a call and we can go through some more detailed stuff, and I'll talk about a series that we're building out as well towards the end. So I guess I've done a bit of an introduction to me. I'm just going to walk through some kind of really basic stuff today, and it's going to be about like how to be clear about who you are, create the right visibility, and how to be consistent about that. Marketing isn't about doing as much as you can. It's not about like continuously doing 100,000 different things. It's about doing a few things consistently and doing them really, really well. That brings people into your firm or into your business if you're in industry. I don't expect people to live on social media. I don't expect people to do 50 TikTok videos a week, etc. And it's not about that. And my biggest thing is that marketing is the only thing that was going to grow your firm. And everyone will say to me, and I hear this every single day from accounting firms, but all my business comes from referrals. Like, oh, this guy, he tells his friend, and then blah blah blah, and it's great. Referrals are always going to be part of how professional services businesses are going to grow and how they're going to develop. I'm the same. I run a professional services business. That referrals are such a big part of my lead generation process, but they have a place, but they're not everything. And at some point, the referrals do plateau and they do start to go flat. So how do you make sure that doesn't happen? And how do you make sure you can continue to grow your practice without getting to a point where everything stops almost? So the one thing that I always start when I always talk to businesses about is the 10-word test, right? And what do I mean about that? So your brand isn't just your logo; it's a promise you can prove, right? So it's what's the problem that you help founders with and business owners with? For example, that founders are buried in bookkeeping. Or what's your promise to them? Like, what are you going to help them with, and what you're going to do? So you want to close their month. So you want to close month end in 24 hours. You don't want to be on the 14th of the following month still trying to close the month before. Doesn't make sense. But you also need to prove why they should come and talk to you. Whether you're a zero goal partner, whether you've got amazing Trustpilot reviews, whether you've got amazing Google reviews, whatever that means. And this is super, super important, right? And what you want to try and do is that you want to try and build this into about 10 words, is what I say is the thing. And if you can't build all of this together in 10 words, and you can't say it about your firm, or the people who are working in your firm can't say it about your firm in one breath, it means that you've got a problem. But it's not always about just chucking stuff out there, making sure you've got the 10 words out there. It's making sure you've got the right 10 words out there. So let's go into some kind of like tactics and kind of how we do these things. So if you look at the accounting firm on the left hand side, I've just pulled some generic firms from the internet. They say accounting and business support designed around you. Doesn't really say anything. It doesn't really tell the person what you can do with them. It doesn't really help to fix their problem. If you look at the accounting firm on the right hand side, some of you may recognize that firm. They talk about, is bookkeeping slowing down your big ideas? They're really talking to the problem of somebody in who they want to have as a client. You can't read the text below that just because of the way the screenshot is, but the text there then starts talking about how they're focused on tech businesses and how they can help tech businesses take care of their bookkeeping. So, if you go back a slide, we're talking about the problem. We're talking about how, founders have got a problem with bookkeeping and it's keeping them up at night. The promise is that it's for tech businesses. And what you can't see on here is the promise side of it. They've missed out in there.
I think, Zubair, one thing I want to add, and I think this is a really great point that you came up with. I think one of the things that we try to do is we try to make our kind of 10 words outcome based. Yep. So at Taxstar, we want to make accountants superhuman, right? Yes, we do the AI stuff. Yes, we do automate tax returns, give you features to make your life easier, help your accounting firm make money through providing a process for your document reminders. But ultimately, what we want to do is make the accountant superhuman. And I think and everything then kind of, that's your starting point, right? And I think what you've mentioned is very, very important, because I think many founders, they're very much executional. They think about marketing from an executional point of view. Yeah. So how do I get paid ads? How do I get SEO ranking? How do I get more likes on a Facebook post? But what they don't think about is the outcome, because that very much, the strategy and the outcome is what kind of feeds into the execution and strategy.
100%, and that's exactly what it should be, right? Like we have to be talking about what it gives our audience, and that's quite a good segue into the next bit about niching, right? So it's about, and people throw this word around niching and they talk quite deeply about it, but the reality is all niching really means is about picking is somebody, not everybody, right? And you're talking about Techstar. Techstar, can be used by CFOs. It can be used by finance departments. It can be used by accountants, whatever. But you've decided, hey, like we're really going to focus this side of Techstar into accounting firms, and what does it mean for accounting firms? And accounting firms should be doing the same thing, right? Like an accounting firm should think about the types of businesses and the types of people they want to work with, right? And the people that it makes sense to. And it's really fun exercise to do in your firm. Get a piece of paper, get a whiteboard, get an iPad, whatever you want to use, and like sketch out your ideal client. But start with the kind of clients that you already work with today. So you might work with tech businesses, you might work with manufacturing businesses, you might work with e-commerce businesses, whoever that might be. But actually sketch them out and say, okay, well, who are these people? I take an example of a firm that I worked with recently, and this is who they sketched out on their wall. This is someone, they called her Sally. She's mid-30s. She has a career in teaching. She got a really keen interest in tech. She's self-taught in coding, and now she's building like tech for good. Right. So for this accounting firm, she was quite a ideal client for them. And we'll get into profitability and that kind of stuff in later in the webinar. But for her, they really understood who she was. So now they understand who she is. They can really start tailoring everything they're doing around that persona of who she is. And then that helps you then package your outcomes. I don't really tend to go too much into pricing and too much into how to structure pricing in accounting firms. One, because I'm not an accountant. Two, because there is a bit of nuancing in there. But what I see a lot of accounting firms do, and what we did at a bunch of businesses I worked at, and if you are a Xero partner or a QuickBooks partner or whatever, you'll be very familiar with this bronze, silver, gold tiering. Is now you understand your target audience, you know who you're going after. So Sally's the one we're going to go after, and we're going to try and get more businesses like her in our world. We understand what outcomes she wants from us as an accounting firm. So does she want a VAT? Does she want the year end and a monthly closing? Is that all she wants from us? She might want that. Let's package that up. Let's talk. And if she wants more than that, does she want rolling cash flow? Does she want constant chasing on emails and KPIs? Okay, let's build that out for her. But does she also, is she going for funding? Does she want board packs? Does she want forecasting? Does she want funding? What might she need? And as that Rayhan talked about earlier, is you're packaging here for outcomes of what you're delivering for your client, rather than saying, okay, it takes a junior on my team 13 hours to produce X, Y, and Z. The junior, I pay them X amount, and I charge that rate at this, and bosh, here's my monthly fee. For me, that's probably not where we should be going. And I think what we should be thinking about when we're going through pricing, we should think about the cost of providing the services. We should think about the margin you want to deliver on it, but also look at the perceived value on this. Sorry, what does the client perceive this value as? I'll give you a really, really personal example. I talked about, I've only been running my agency for a couple of years now. When I started my agency, obviously working with accountants my whole life, I knew I needed an accountant straight away. So phoned an accountant that I'd known for many years, said, hey, Stephen, I'm setting up a business. I need help. I don't really know what I'm doing. Can you help me? He was like, of course. Here's the package you need. You need this, 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 this. This is what we do for you. This is how we do it. This is all the stuff we take off your plate. And this is all the stuff you don't have to deal with anymore. And for me, that's the perceived value, right? For me as a business owner, I don't want to be thinking about filing something to HMRC or the FTA. I don't want to think about the date I need to do X, Y, and Z. I don't want to think about my bookkeeping I need to do on this and this day, wherever it might be. For me, the perceived value there is that so much stress is lifted from me, and I'm happy to pay for that additional relief. Same when it comes to do payroll. I had the option. I spoke to them about payroll, paying staff. They were like, yeah, you can go to this platform, you can do this, 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 and it takes you this much time a month, and it does all of this. And I was like, okay, well, I can pay the accountant to do that. But if I think about how much time that might take me from a time perspective, I could do it as a business owner. But the perceived value came in the fact that they would make sure everything was compliant, making sure everything was done properly, make sure I paid the right taxes and insurances or whatever it might be. And for me, that perceived value was so much more than the actual time that was there to do it. So let's dive into we talked about who we are, we talked about the people we want to go after, we talked about kind of how we're going to put our stuff in front of them. Let's talk about our digital shop front. Lots of accounting firms think they need a really complex, really high-end website. They think they want to, be the next Apple website or anything like that. The reality is your website is just a digital shop front. It's just where people are going to come to make sure they're the right people, you're the right people to work with them. They're going to come and book a call. They're going to come and spend some time to understand who you are. So let's have a look at some really good digital shop fronts that I think are really great. So this is what we call above the fold. So this is the first thing that people see when they pop up onto your screen, onto your homepage. We want to talk about the promise and the social proof. So on the right there, bang, state and center, we talk about the outcome-based thing that Rayhan talked about. We talk about the problem they're solving. Can't maybe see in that screenshot, unfortunately. But we also talk about the promise there. So this accounting firm is very, very focused into the creative services industry. So they only deal with creative services industry and agencies in that space. But they also get very, very specific about the people they deal with. So they talk about how to deal with creative agencies who do between £1 and £5 million in turnover a year. And underneath that, they've got a social proof there that just talks about why they work so well, creative agencies, and a kind of testimony of one of their clients. And they've got a single call to action at the top right corner of the screen. So it's a single thing and a direction for people to go into to book a call from. It's not overcomplicated. It's not jargony. It's not confusing. It's not trying to appeal to everybody. They're very focused on types of businesses they want to work with. And we talked about this earlier about how consistency is super important consistency is more important than being everywhere, doing everything at all times. This is another accounting firm called 𝐭𝐡𝐢𝐬 Accounting. A guy called Reza Huda, some of you may have heard about, runs this firm.
Shout out to Reza.
Yeah, he's an amazing guy, and he's really. So he's got a great book you should go and get. It's called Pillars. So plug his book there. But he does a really good job of this in his firm. So 𝐭𝐡𝐢𝐬 are a firm who focus on influencers and content creators. So what he's done on his website, he's said it straight up: accountants for influencers and content creators. And then if you look at the LinkedIn profile for 𝐭𝐡𝐢𝐬, it says basically the same thing on the header there. And if you look at all the content that 𝐭𝐡𝐢𝐬 put out, they're very consistent in kind of that message that they keep throwing out to market. And if you look again at his website, he's got a single call to action, a proof point in there. It's not overcomplicated. It's not a lot of stuff on there. It's just very simple and very targeted into that niche that he's trying to deliver to. So you can do it. It's really easy. Take a screenshot, take a grab, do something, write this down, however you're taking notes in this presentation. I'm sure you'll get this sent to you at some point as well. But, you can change your website today. Right now, after this, you can go and adjust the headline on your website. You don't have to wait for a big marketing strategy or a marketing campaign or whatever it might be, or a rebuild of a website. Go and change some of this stuff today on your website and on your LinkedIn profiles. So, take the top one. So, you could say if you work with manufacturing businesses, books close in 24 hours with zero paper, right? Real-time cash flow management for e-commerce businesses, because that's a big problem for e-commerce businesses. Real-time cash flow and coming out of Shopify and that kind of stuff into their accounts and clearing, such a headache. They don't know where they are at any given time. Stop wasting weekends and bookkeeping. Get 10 free Saturdays a month. If you're dealing with small business owners, if you're dealing with people who have high volumes, that kind of stuff. Take one of these, go and change it. You can go and change your LinkedIn profile. You can change anything you want today after this call. But the key thing is also to remember, you need to be where the people that you want to talk to are hanging out. There is no point in you using LinkedIn if all of your clients are spending their time on TikTok. And there's no point in you being on TikTok if all of your clients only respond to emails, for example. And we'll take the example of the two firms we talked about here. So Capture, top right, they're obviously talking to content creators and influencers. The likelihood that content creators and influencers are spending most of their time on platforms like Instagram, TikTok, etc. So they focus a lot of their marketing into those platforms where their audience is going to be active automatically. The Wow Company, for example, they're looking at quite decent sized creative firms. The likelihood that the partners or the founders of creative firms there aren't going to be doom scrolling on TikTok. They're likely to be on LinkedIn, so they're spending a lot more of their time on LinkedIn. Sounds simple, right? But it's just about sometimes taking that step back and saying to yourself, where is Sally? What is she doing? Where is she hanging out? Where is the best way to communicate with her? You'll also read a lot online and you'll go and say, the ideal time to send an email is 10:30 on a Tuesday morning, because that's the best time to do that. Yeah, let's do that. But the reality is, if you're working with the construction industry, those guys are busy. They're at work. They're on the tools. They're doing work. It might be better to send them an email on a Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. when they're at home. They're thinking about the week ahead. A really successful email campaign that I ran for a firm is that we used to send an email newsletter out on a Sunday morning at 8:30 a.m. To their client base, because we knew that their clients were sitting on a Sunday morning, having a coffee, thinking about the week ahead and thinking about what they were going to try and do in the week ahead. And actually prompting them to do stuff at that time worked really, really well. So it's about focusing on the right stuff. But you might say to me, I'm not a marketer. I'm an accountant. I'm good at tax. I'm going to become really, really good at e-invoicing. I could do VAT. Like, this is my life. Like, I can't do marketing. So let me give you a tip. Right. I want everyone here on this today to go and post on LinkedIn twice this week. Right. I'm not going to do 3, but focus yourself into a really simple framework that I call TIP. So everything that you should be doing in your social world and any kind of marketing should really fall into either one of these 3 things. Either you should be teaching somebody something, you should be inspiring them, or you should be giving them proof about why they should work with you and what you can do for them. So, you could teach somebody about the new legislation come out with corporation tax and why they should be talking to you and what that means for them. You can inspire somebody by talking to them about, something interesting that happened in your firm or a conversation you had with a client. And proof, you could use a case study or a quote from a client about how great your services are. So everyone on this call, I want you to go away by Friday. I want each of you to have done at least 2 posts on LinkedIn or on Instagram or on TikTok, wherever your ideal client lives.
Tag us as well, right? So we can
for sure. Tag me, tag Rayhan, tag Tagstar. That proves that you've done it mainly, so that we can check up on your homework more than anything else. And you might say to me, come on, like, this seems like a gimmick, right? Like, everyone's on LinkedIn, everyone's shouting and screaming about what they're doing. But this all works. So these are real stats from a firm that I work with. In the last 4 to 5 months that we've been working together, we've grown follower numbers on their thing. We're getting really high impression rates on the posts that they're putting out. We're getting really good engagement rates. We're getting really, really good page views back to their website as well. So, we're getting thousands of eyeballs back on their website by just following a very simple framework and doing stuff consistently, but doing it in the right way that we want to go out and do it. So it works. Trust me. We're not making it up for the sake of making out.
No, I agree with this. The other thing I also want to highlight is you started the presentation with the referrals, right? And how referrals grows business, right? And referrals is important B2B. In any type of business you do, referrals is 100%. Important. Whether you do $100 million deals or whether you do, 1,000 dirhams a month deals, referrals is important because that's the easiest way to close business. One of the things that my personal experience is that I'm quite active on LinkedIn, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to get a lot of business from LinkedIn. If I think of having a clear ROI in making sure I'm posting and I'm getting leads directly, then you're doing it for the reason, right? Yes, it can help, but ultimately you're giving yourself more visibility. And one of the things that I find is, as I'm posting more consistently online, people think about me. So, and when they think about me, hopefully in the right way, they give me referrals, right? Or someone who's looking for a job comes to me. Because the thing is, if you're a firm and you do all these marketing things, you're going to be growing your business, which means you're going to need staff. And you're going to start getting people reaching out to you saying they resonate with your brand and they want to work for you as well. And that's also very important as a thought leader as well. And
100%.
you also have lots of other opportunities that come on your lap as well. It doesn't have to be a new client, doesn't have to be a new employee. It could be a partnership. It could be someone wants you to talk in an event, or it could be that someone wants you to participate somewhere, right? And so I think if you think beyond the closure or getting leads, if you think beyond that, I think it's a very powerful thing that everyone should be doing just to get visibility on their business and them as a personal brand, because that will then open up other opportunities later on down in the future.
100%. And one of the biggest things is, and that kind of leads very, very nicely into the kind of the next part, is Google have this concept of a 7-touch reality. And it takes people about 7 touches with you before they are ready to make a buying decision. So you need to be in and around them in a multitude of different places. So let's take a very simple example here, right? If somebody finds you on LinkedIn because you posted on LinkedIn, they're going to go to your LinkedIn, they're going to see who you are. Then they might pop to your company LinkedIn profile. From there, they might head up to your website. They might go and read a review about who you are. They might download something from your website and fill out a form. They'll get an email. They might come and join a webinar. Then you might send them a proposal, and then you might follow up. It takes all of these stages before you'll get to somebody signing up as a client to you in an accounting firm. If you work in industry, it's the same thing with like closing a deal for a client, right? Like there'll be so many touch points that you'll need to get that client in. So don't think about this as, oh, I've been posting on LinkedIn every day and nothing's happening or that kind of stuff. I'll give you a really great example of like myself. And this kind of happened because a lot of accounting firms are saying to me that, oh, you don't post on LinkedIn every day. Why should we post on LinkedIn every day? And I was like, okay, let's test this out. Let's do this together. So since January this year, I've posted every single weekday on LinkedIn consistently. Haven't missed a single day, I don't think. And have I got a lead every single day from my LinkedIn posting? Absolutely not. Has LinkedIn been my 100% lead source? Absolutely not. But like Rayhan said, is that now I'm visible in so many more places, other people are thinking about me in other spaces. So I've got people within my network who run adjacent businesses who are working with accounting firms, referring business to me because they remember me in a situation. They're like, oh yes, he does this thing. Oh yeah, he does that. Let me connect him. And I've had three of those contracts in the last 2 months that have come through because people remember me, had recall for me. So they've seen me on LinkedIn, they've been to my website, they've referred me, they've already set up a qualified call for me, and they've created all that environment for me because I've created the right touch points for them before they've even passed a lead to me. So it's not just that direct one-to-one sale, it's like the holistic network that you go and build around that. But saying that, you're still going to want to kind of drive a direct one-to-one kind of lead flow from this, right? So how do we go and do that? What you really want to do, what people want, and we talked about this perceived value earlier on, is that people want kind of value exchange, right? People want to know that you can help them fix a problem, right? So let's go back to our personas. If we're dealing with people in the e-commerce space and they're using Shopify, using Etsy, they're using a platform to kind of sell online, the connection between that platform and their accounting software might not be thinking properly. They might not understand their cash flow position. They might not know how to do that. So as an accounting firm, you know how that works. You know how that's really easy. You can create a simple checklist that small businesses or business owners can use to make sure that they're checking in their cash flow, they're doing the right things every single day to make sure their accounts are in order. So create that. It's a simple one-page PDF. It doesn't have to be the most beautiful thing in the world, but it needs to provide a lot of value. So create that, pop that onto a digital shopfront, put a form behind it, put something like that. It's really, really simple to set up, and some really almost free platforms that can help you do that. Happy to show you guys how to do that really simply. And then people are engaged. Sally wants you, she understands, you understand her problem. And then you can drive her into a call, right? You're giving her such a quick and easy win in her practice, in her business, that she actually feels connected to you straight away. From that, you can drive in email campaigns, you can drive in other checklists, you can do whatever you want to do off the back of that. But actually, you're bringing people to your digital shopfront, and you're creating an environment where they feel like they can trust you. And it's really simple, right? So you can do this in a really simple 5-step process. So, you deliver a lead magnet, it sets the promise for them. You can help name the pain points. You can create a 30-second tip. You can do a mini case study with a firm that you've worked with before. You can look at their before and after of what they're doing. And then you can drive them into a call to kind of book a discovery call with you, or whatever that means. These emails are really simple, really short. They should be about 120 words. One link, plain text, how you would speak, what you would do. There's some really good platforms out there. One called Transpond, which I've been using a lot with firms recently. I think it's about $9 a month, and it's super, super interactive. Does some really great things. MailChimp, I know a lot of people use that. And you can set these things up yourself. It takes about an hour and a half to get it all set up. And then you're ready to go. And then you've got a full lead magnet thing going on. So let's dive a little bit out. So we talked a lot about the business. We talked a lot about how your business needs to say the right things. Your website should say the right thing. Your company LinkedIn profile should say the same thing. What you should be posting from there. But as much as we sometimes loathe it, personal brand is such an important part of everything, because at the end of the day, we don't work in a B2B space. We don't work into B2C space. We work in a H2H space, a human-to-human space. At the end of the day, we're dealing with humans. We're dealing with their accounts. We're dealing with their lives. We're dealing with who they are. And, at the end of the day, what we do looks after, and Rayhan touched on this earlier, accountants are underpinning the whole economy. Without you guys, people wouldn't get paid. People couldn't spend money. People couldn't take their families on holiday. People couldn't buy their dream house. People couldn't pay their rent. And do all those kind of bits. So at the end of the day, it's the people behind the accounting firm that we really want to bring out and showcase, and that's where the trust comes in. So I'm not expecting you to become, the next Kim Kardashian and have the best personal brand in the world, but we need to do it with a light touch on you. So we want you to take that promise that you created for your business, and we want you to kind of display that on your personal brand. We want you to post the stuff that we talk about from the tip framework. We want you to post that from your personal profile, but also engage with people. Show that you've got expertise in this space. Show that you're a human. Show that you understand what people are feeling, and make sure you are connecting with the right people on the right platforms for your audience. And you're commenting on stuff that's happening in their world. You're commenting about the way legislation is changing that is affecting them. And create that connection in the right spaces for them. So, quick audit. What I want you to do is I want you to go away, and I want you to think about these things, and I want you to rate them out of 10 about your firm. Is your messaging clear? Can you say the 10-word proof point? And is it easy for everyone in your firm to say the same thing? Is your homepage clear? Is your promise, your proof, your call to action? Is it all there? Are we saying the right things on your digital shopfront? Do you have the right channels? Prioritize 2 channels. I don't want you to get any further than that. Is LinkedIn correct? Is email correct? Is TikTok correct? Is networking events correct. And I want you to start thinking about one lead magnet that you can create, that you can drive people into your firm. Simple metrics I want you to look at as well once you've done that. So I want you to go away, I want you to adjust all those things, I want you to look at them, and I want you to start looking at these metrics over the next couple of weeks. I want you to look at the posts you're making, look at the reach and the engagement you're getting. Let's not worry about likes. Likes are a single metric, but actually impression rates and those kind of things are super important in your posting. So have a look at what kind of impression rates you're getting and the reach that your posts are getting, and if you're in the right platforms, and what types of content is it, the teaching content, the inspiring content, the proof content, which one is working the best for you. Look at your homepage click rate. Are you getting more clicks on your homepage because you've made it clearer? Are people coming to your lead magnet? Are people downloading that checklist you created? Are they doing that thing for you? And are you getting more calls booked in the diary? That's kind of the main metric we're checking here, right? Like how many more clients are we getting in the door? I want you to review that every 3 weeks. Look at it every 3 weeks and say, are we doing the right things? And then go back and adjust the ones that might need adjusting, and then go again.
I think that's a great thing to do. I mean, we do these metrics once a week.
Yeah.
And we put everything into one place. So not just the marketing, but also sales. So how much sales have we done? We also look at, obviously if you've not done this for the first time, it's quite a lot of bits of information you need to gather. Yeah. But we also look at cost per lead as well. Yeah. How much have we spent on marketing, and how many closed deals have we done? A lot of this can be done if you're using a CRM. You can get some of the data from the CRM, and if you're using a CRM correctly, you can get a lot of the data from the CRM. We don't do anything fancy where we automate it, or we just put it all on the Google Sheet for now. And then once you're able to have a consistent reporting, you can then start using, automation for that and link, Google Analytics information on there. But yeah, we get it done every Friday. And I think it helps us just keep an eye on what's going on with, as you said, your digital shopfront, right? Because a lot of things can happen and you just don't know what's going on. Sometimes your website might be down and you don't realize that it's down because you forgot to pay for a domain, hosting or whatever, right? So, and typically in accounting firms, you don't really have anyone doing marketing. You'll have loads of account managers, you might have sales, but no one's really looking after that part. And so it's important that someone takes over that piece. Obviously, you can give advice on how to set that up. But I think it's important that someone's keeping an eye on what's going on with the shopfront. Otherwise, what might happen is you might have a broken window and you won't know it's broken.
Exactly. And it's not about being fancy, right? It's not about being like, we need to create all this automation and we need to do all these things. Like you said, like, Taxstar, you guys just have a spreadsheet, right? And we put the numbers in there and we look at it and we say, okay, well, that seems to be working better. That seems to be not doing that amazing. Why is that? Okay, let's focus a bit more here. Let's take this way. And that's what this kind of next step is, right? It's about making sure you've got clarity in what you're doing. So your 10-word promise, make sure that's clear across everything you're doing. Polish everything up, your website, your hero images, your single call to action, all that. And then go over it every few weeks. Continuously go over it, check it, make sure it's right, make sure it's the right stuff that you're doing again and again. I'm also here to help you do that, right? So I've opened up a few slots, like just Rayhan asked me to, like in my calendar. If you scan this QR code with your phone or whatever, you can book like a 20-minute call, and we can go over all this stuff in your firm, right? We can go over what your promise is, what you're trying to achieve, where you're trying to get to, etc. I've been talking to accountants about marketing and growing their firms for about 15 years now. Like, if I don't know anything about accountants by now, like I'm probably done something wrong. So, and I can do everything in accounting apart from the VAT and tax return. That's why I have an accountant. So scan the QR code, book in a call, and we're happy to go through everything you want to go through in that on a one-to-one basis with you as well. We talked about earlier how, Rayhan talked about how Eamon and I really kind of wanted to come and give the accountants a voice in this region, and we really wanted to make sure that you guys had a space to come together. And, from my experience in other markets, the accounting community is so important when you guys come together to really drive the economy forward, but also drive adoption of technology, drive adoption of everything in the SME world, really. And what I saw when we first did Accounting Refigured in 2024 was a bubbling of a community that I saw very similar to when I started Xero in 2016, 17, whatever it was. And we saw that community bubbling, right? And we saw that people were engaging. We saw the community wanted to work together. But what we realized that there wasn't a space for everyone to come together to do that. So we created a community. It's called Accounting Room. It's free to join. It's a free WhatsApp group for accountants and CFOs in the UAE. I think we've got like 160 or 170 people in this WhatsApp group. It's a no pitch zone. There's no vendors there. There's no one talking about products and services. No one selling anything. There's no one doing WhatsApp forward videos. We know we've all got the uncle and the auntie who like to do the WhatsApp forward videos. There's none of that going on. It's just a bunch of people in the finance space helping each other, really. That people are answering questions about e-invoicing, corporation tax, about lending, setting up bank accounts, etc., and building all that relationship in that community to do that. Scan the QR code, pop to the website, fill in your details. The reason we ask for your details is because we want to make sure everyone's an accountant in there, and you get access straight into the WhatsApp group in there. There is also like a wider kind of VIP community in the Accounting Room as well, where we do monthly coffee mornings, we do quarterly workshops. There's a bunch of online content that you get for free as well, and there's a bunch of other stuff that we do. As part of that online content is that I'm building out, that will launch hopefully on the 1st of September, a really deep 6-session process on how to go do marketing your firm. So we'll go through everything we went through today. We really skimmed on the surface of everything in like half an hour, but almost every slide in here that we've gone through will become about an hour and a half session. There'll be homework that you'll have to do. There'll be worksheets to do. There'll be check-ins that you'll need to do off the back of that as part of the community if you go and join that and become a part of that. So 2 QR codes for you, the Accounting Room there to go and join that. And if you want to book in a call with me and you want to go through your marketing for your firm, scan that QR code there and we can go through it. But that is all from me. I hope you have got some value and some insight in the last kind of half an hour that I've been rambling on about this now. And any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat box. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Send me a DM directly if you want. And if you don't want to ask a question live here right now.
Zubair, thank you very much for presenting your insights and the advice that you'd give to accounting firms. I think is super helpful. I think a lot of this is very it's things that needs to be drilled into an accounting firm owner to understand what the priorities are. We've worked with big accounting firms where they've got thousands of clients. We've worked with small accounting firms where they've got 1 or 2 clients. One of the things that when you're starting in the very beginning and you've got 10 clients or 20 clients and you're looking up to the firm that's got 300, 1,000 clients, what you don't realize is there's not that much difference in terms of the two,
no.
Right? So just because you're only on 20 or 25, it doesn't mean you can't get up to the 300 or 500 or 1,000. You just have to do simple things, right? As what Zubair's mentioned, do them very well, and before you know it, you'll be growing. The problem you face is no longer marketing, but how do I service these clients consistently and with, with good staff? That's going to be your problem later on down the line. So I think I want to stress that because I've seen many accounting firms in this region, and I've seen what they do and what they don't do, and even some of the big ones, they're really bad at marketing, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think what you said is really interesting, right? Like when it's the stress of servicing clients, and I think that's why I'm a really big advocate of niching, because once you understand the types of clients and types of businesses you want to work with, building those workflows and processes and everything in your firm becomes simpler, right? Because the clients are almost the same, right? There's nuances in their businesses, etc. But the process of creating their accounts, advisory services, cash flow forecasting, whatever, for individual industries are quite similar. So if you can bring the right type of client in, your business, your firm is already set up to do the things in the right way, in a specific way. It makes it much easier for you. And there's a whole module I've created, a part of this deep dive in accounting room, just about that process. It's like an hour and a half of going through that. We bring in some really interesting experts to talk about how to structure that in your firm as well.
Yeah, and on that topic, the other thing I want to, by the way, we're open to Q&A, so we're just talking, right? Until we get some more questions. The other thing I also want to stress about your expertise is the fact that you've obviously most of your experience has been in the UK, right? You do obviously work with firms in the UAE, but you've worked with firms in a very mature market where there's so many accounting firms in the UK, and it's super saturated. And I'm sure you've seen where accounting firms were generalists and then they became specialists. So they did everything under the sun, and then they specialized to do, servicing marketing firms, servicing, construction, servicing builders, for example, right? Very specific in what they do. One of the things that happens in the UAE, and I think accountants fall into this trap a lot, and a lot of them fall into the trap. Whenever you see a new accounting firm spring up, they do every single service under the sun. They serve every single client. They do setup. They do bank accounts. They do in-company valuation, in-country valuation certificates. They do valuations. They do audit. They do bookkeeping. They do tax services. They do everything.
Yeah.
Right. And it's a recipe for disaster if you really want to scale your business. Unless you want to spend a lot of money being able to find the right people to service these types of business lines. And I think one of the things that you're able to do is give a bit more clarity or give another perspective on how successful firms have grown in the UK by not doing every single service under the sun, but specializing in either services or industries so they can scale up from that point of view. And there was an argument where the UAE was a bit too small for you to be able to do that, right? Because you didn't have that many businesses. But if you look at, there was a report the other day when RAK Bank is an SME, mainly SME bank, right? And they mentioned that this year, first 2 quarters of the year, they signed up something like 12,000 new SME clients, right? Not existing clients, but new clients. What does that mean? If one bank is signing up 12,000 SME clients, guess what? They're going to need the accounting services in the next 3 to 6 months, which means that 12,000 new clients for all of the accounting firms. You can't market to them, and if you're not able to attract them, there's a problem, right? If the banks, I think you got to look at your growth and compare it to banks. If banks are able to get, X amount of new businesses, let's say they grow 5% new clients every year, and you're only growing by 2%, then there's a problem with what you're doing. That's my personal opinion anyway.
100%. And I think there's 2 or 3 things that I've probably learned, and I compare with the different markets I work in, is the UAE has a big problem with a concept of racing to the bottom of pricing. The concept for accounting services from accountants I speak to a lot is we need to be cheaper. We want to be the cheapest. We want to do the most, and we want to do the cheapest price possible. It's not sustainable. Like, your firm will spiral out of control because you will continuously be trying to throw either bodies or technology at a problem that you created yourself. Specializing in services, specializing in industry is super, super important. Because, like you said, there's more and more businesses starting up in the region. More people are coming from outside of the region to set up in the region. So their expectations of what an accountant should do for them is also different to what you might have experienced in the last 3 to 5 years as well. So you always got a different set of clientele who are arriving in the UAE, arriving in Dubai, Sharjah, Abu Dhabi, whatever it might be, who are expecting a different level of service, who are also then expecting to pay a different price point for that, right? So it goes back to what we talked about earlier about your margins, your cost, and your perceived value, right? That triangle you need to look at very, very well, rather than saying we can do everything you want to do and we can be the cheapest possible that you want to do now. Because if I went and spoke to 2 accounting firms in the UAE, and one said we can do everything you want to do and it's 200 dirhams a month, and the other one said we can do these 4 key things that you need, and it's going to be 3,000 dirhams a month. Strangely, I'm more likely to go with the accounting firm that's going to charge me 3,000 dirhams a month than I am to go with the accounting firm that's cheap and can do everything, because I know the value of what they all bring. So it might seem scary. It might seem like, oh no, we only have 50 clients, we only have 20 clients, we only have 300 clients, whatever it might be. But don't pin your growth on that number of clients. Pin your growth on the opportunity that you can drive from in those clients as well. I know firms in the UK who the firms are doing crazy numbers of revenue and they've got 35, 45 clients. But the actual value they're providing to these clients is so high, which means the fees they can charge is so high. It's crazy. When I look under the hood of some of these firms and I talk to them, I'm like, wow, that is incredible that you're earning that much money from such a small client base. Because they're not trying to be everything to anyone.
Cool. We're coming up to 12.
I just saw a question. There's any recommendations for a contact billing? We can help you with that. If you scan that QR code and book in a call, I can talk you through how to do that. We've built quite a few websites for a bunch of firms in the UAE recently. Got a good system and a good process to do that for you.
One of the advice I'd give in terms of building a website from my point of view is don't go with a simple website. You want to go with a platform that you can scale, because if you start with a simple website, you're going to have to change it, because as you grow as a business, you're going to want to have a CRM. You're going to want to have your billing. You want to have customer service and maybe AI chatbots, and they all need to be able to integrate with the website and with your firm as well. So if you start with a simple website, the problem you're going to face is within 12 months, you're going to have to change it. And that whole project is going to be a bit of a waste. Yeah. So I would recommend that you go with a decent platform that you can scale up with. We use Webflow. We don't use WordPress. We used to use WordPress. The problem we had with WordPress was that it's very clunky and you've got to kind of update all of the plugins, whereas WordPress is no code websites. It's also very good with SEO, and also we connect it to our CRM, we connect it to our WhatsApp bot, we connect it to lots of different other things as well to kind of help the whole automation, not just from a marketing point of view, but also operationally as well. So that's the only advice I'd give, but I'm sure Zubair can.
Yeah, no, I agree. Definitely. Like, don't try to just spin up something really quick and easy, because it just creates you pain in the future. Build for scalability, and a lot of these platforms like Webflow, you could start very simple on them, but they have the ability to scale as you kind of develop and grow your business and whatever you want to kind of build through it.
Cool. I think we'll wrap it up. Don't forget to give Zubair a shout. Taxstar, feel free to go on the website, taxstar.app. You can take a free 14-day trial. We're happy to also to give you a demo on the application. I hope you've got value in this webinar. I certainly have. And we've got a few more lined up with some really good guests as well. So hopefully stay tuned for that. Zubair, thank you very much for your time. You're coming into the UAE end of this month, right?
Yes, I'll be there on the last week of August for a week. So if anybody's around, I'm happy to drink a lot of tea. And then I'm in the UAE probably like for over a week every month. So just get into my diary and we can do that.
Cool. All right then. Thank you very much, Zubair.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Ryan.
Take care.
See you guys. Bye.